the process to file a claim is going to be a little bit confusing, but what has to happen is an informal claim, well, not exactly an informal, not a lawsuit, but a claim has to be filed with the Department of Navy showing 30 days at Lejeune and the illness and what you want. And then that becomes the cap. They can either accept or reject those claims. Traditionally, the government has rejected similar claims like that and said, go to court, we'll follow the rules of court. We're not saying we won't settle, but it's going to be in the court process. There's a question. There's going to be so many claims filed, whether the government will try to at least pay on the really solid claims. And there's some really solid claims because the VA has already accepted the illness and that it was from Lejeune. There's no, in my opinion, there's no doubt. Once the VA is only accepting, I've heard different stats, either 8%, 10%, at one point 25% of the claims for Lejeune Water. But if you're one of the people whose claim has been accepted, I don't see how that doesn't get settled for the pain and suffering going forward. They're paying every month. So I would expect those. So, but what's going to happen is they then have 6 months to answer. And if they don't answer, you can file the lawsuit. If they deny, you then have 6 months to file the lawsuit. So there's a preliminary claim filed with the Department of the Navy. If you can't resolve or you don't hear an answer within 6 months, then you go to the Eastern District of North Carolina.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do right now is, the law's not passed, but it's going to take some time to submit the claim here, and there's only going to be a 2-year window. This is not going to go on forever. So we're getting everything together. We have clients right now. We're getting the documentation together to be able to show those.
Well, it's the same as a personal injury case. It takes time to gather your evidence and do your own investigation on it.
Right. And this is even more challenging because everything happened between 1953 and 1987.
Right.
So
how do you?
So a potential, a child who died in 1960, we have a family. We represent the whole family.
Yeah.
Mom, dad, sister, deceased.
Okay.
Date of death, 1960. A very strong case. What we don't know is how we're going to be able to get medical records from 1960. And what medical records, we're not going to, I think it's obvious you're not going to get the same quality of medical records from 2022 from 62 years ago.
Right, and yes.
Just for a clarification for some of the listeners, can you explain, if you're representing a Marine or his family member, why you're bringing a case with the Navy?
Right, there you go, Marines, Department of the Navy. Try to look here. So we're thinking about our cases right now, and I think a lot of the law firms are in kind of 3 ways. There's about 15 illnesses that are without a doubt related to the water at Camp Lejeune. There's also probably another 30 or 40 that there's already medical, maybe the government hasn't accepted it, but there's strong medical literature that shows this illness is at least as likely to have been caused by toxic exposure as chance. We're taking those as good cases. There's also other illnesses that literature doesn't exist, but at least we believe it could exist in the very near future. So there's different, you hear about 12 or 15 illnesses, and we're taking many, many more than 12 or 15 illnesses.
Right.
And
I mean, you have no idea extensively how many different illnesses really could come out of this.
Right. And the only reason
Everyone's so different.
The reason I mentioned that is because some of the folks that we've talked to, they said, well, I see the list on some of the websites and I don't have one of those. I don't have one of those cancers, but I have this over here.
Yeah.
And I know the one that's really common right now that we've received some calls on is male breast cancer. It's not on the list right now. I think it's going to be on the list really quickly as we've heard more and more cases and all over it. Male breast cancer, very rare. And there's a real pocket of that. It's I think it's a matter of time until that gets added. But if you didn't know that and you say, hey, this is an exhaustive list, it's not an exhaustive list. It's the ones that the government has accepted the studies on, but there's a whole bunch of other studies ongoing right now.
That could be added to the list. So it's not just within the ones that are listed right now. Potentially could be more.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be a whole bunch of more birth defects added. The original birth defect was major heart birth defects. And I can tell you, we've talked to several people, major kidney birth defects is a big one. That's going to happen. Cleft palate's going to happen. Nerve damage in small children, that's going to happen. They're not on the list right now. If we don't, give us a call. We're pretty familiar with